Welcome back. Lawmakers doing a lot of this. They're watching their watches, the ticking clock at the Capitol. They're also watching the calendar, so time is running out to keep the money flowing and avoid that government shutdown. So here's where we are at this hour. Senators have less than 48 hours to get a bill signed. It's all down to the Senate. In fact, Democrats in the upper chamber hunkering down behind closed doors. They are having some high-level discussions, and there's very little wiggle room when we look at the vote count here. Republican Senator Rand Paul, case in point, he says he's a no on what he calls Biden's spending levels. So because of that, Senate Republicans need the help of 8 Democrats to get this through. They already have one on their side, and that is Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. Here's what he had to say.
If you don't want to vote for that CR because you want to protect the government and some of the things that I don't agree with that are happening, well then again, it's like I'm not going to cut the baby in half. And it wasn't that long ago that we were scolding at the Republicans threatening to shut the government down. So now that situation has changed, and they had the votes in the House and they delivered that, and now that's incumbent on us to make that decision. I am unwilling to vote to shut the government down.
Fetterman wearing a hoodie there, maybe giving a little hope to Republicans. But, you know, the back and forth between the two Senate leaders say otherwise. Here's more.
Republicans do not have the votes in the Senate to invoke cloture on the House CR. Our caucus is unified on a clean April 11th CR that will keep the government open.
The Democrat leader came to the floor yesterday afternoon and had the nerve to complain about the House bill. He wants yet another short-term piece of funding legislation to be, as he said, give Congress time to negotiate bipartisan legislation that can pass, end quote. Well, Mr. President, I'm not sure how long the Democrat leader thinks we should drag out the funding process for fiscal year 2025. Until fiscal year 2026? I'd like to suggest to the Democrat leader that if he has problems with the current situation, maybe, just maybe, he should have funded the government when he was in charge.
Sort of like watching a tennis match with the ball passed over the net over and over and over. Let's bring in CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small. Taurean, you have a sore neck from watching that ball go back and forth. What are you hearing from Democrats and Republicans here?
Yeah, it's like the political version of challengers, right? It's Democrats' fault, it's Republicans' fault. But at the heart of this, though, is a matter of whether or not we'll see the Democrat version of a continuing resolution, a 30-day stopgap, get to the Senate floor. Leader Thune did say that he's open to that idea if Democrats can agree to a cloture vote sooner than later on the House version of the bill. The problem with that, though, is they would have to agree to vote that closure through, even though a final vote wouldn't necessarily yield the result that he's hoping for, because again, he has to find 8 Democrats to support that bill. But he's saying he's open to the idea if they can vote to continue or to move the House version of the bill closer to a final vote, then he'll be open to an amendment that would see their version of a continuing resolution happen sooner than later. Though there is still quite a bit of trepidation within the Democratic Party because they don't want to see a government shutdown. There are at least 4 Democratic senators who said they're either open to considering the House CR or are completely on board, one being Senator Fetterman.
All right, so on to other news out of the Capitol today. The Senate Help Committee canceling the hearing for the president's pick to lead the CDC. We're talking about David Weldon. This comes after the White House pulled his nomination. What happened there?
Yeah, so CBS News asked the White House about this mysterious withdrawal. And this is also interesting because this is the first time a CDC director would have to seek approval from Congress in order to get installed into the job. Normally it was an appointment basis, but per a 2023 rider inside that spending bill, we saw this change happen. We're told by a White House official that it was clear that he did not have the votes for this nomination in the Senate, which is also a bit peculiar because despite the fact that this is a former Florida congressman who's had some controversial takes on vaccines, he also comes after another string of controversial figures have been confirmed by the Senate to their respective posts. So it's peculiar that now is the time that we're seeing withdrawal. Consequently, his Senate hearing was also canceled as the White House now scrambles to find a replacement.
All right, we can't wait to hear who that next name will be. Taurean Small, we know you'll break it right here on CBS News 24/7. Little Ben Gay on the neck, my friend. It'll help you. Take care.